prerequisite for the purchase?
What?
Isn't that a prerequisite for the purchase? You want to retroactively?
Absolutely.
It's like a cold agent.
I have to check Barash.
Okay, I'm not saying anything, but let's just, there you go. Let you begin your nigun. Perfect.
La 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 I la 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 I la 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 Hi la 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 ya la 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 hi la 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 hi la 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 hi nine 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 ya nine 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 hi nine 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 la 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 I la 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 I la 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 I nine 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 la 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 I la 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 la
Shabbat Shalom, Boker Tov, Mazal Tov. Our service officially begins on page 103 with the blessings of gratitude, Birchot HaShachar, page 103. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasach vivina leavchin ben yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokach haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechid mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa li kol tzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael betifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein laya'ef koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir shena me'einaynu ma'mei afapai. V'hi ratzon fanech Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei avotenu v'imotenu shetargilenu b'toratecha v'da'avinu b'mitzvah. Utnenu yom v'chol yom l'chen v'chesed l'rachamim b'einecha u'v'einei choroenu v'tigmelenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai גומל חסדים טובים לעמו ישראל.
Amen. We continue on page 112. We can be seated. The Psalm for Shabbat.
היום יום שבת קודש, שבו היו הלוויים אומרים בבית המקדש, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני לזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות על יעשו ועלינה. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולת בו.
Page 120.
מזמור שיר חנוכת הבית לדוד. ארומים אחרוני כי דיל לדני ולשמחתו אלי לי ארוני אלוהי שביתי אלוהי. סמר לארוני חסידה והודו לזכר קודשו. אליך אדוני אקרא ואל אדוני אתחנן. אליך אדוני אקרא ואל אדוני אתחנן. שמע אדוני וכונני, אדוני יהיה עוזר לי. שמע אדוני וכונני, אדוני יהיה עוזר לי. הפכת מספרי למחולי, פיתחת זקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום. Adonai Elohai leolam modeka.
We'll invite all of you who are in mourning or observing a yurtzeit to please turn to page 121. Page 121, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yameichon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiram bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Good morning, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Those were the welcome prayers, and now it's the spiritual warm-up. It's called Psuke de Zimra, which means verses of song. So we're going to encourage you to hang on to your yarmulkes, to clap along, and to just to smile in celebration of Shabbat, in celebration of being here for Hannah, in celebration of family and togetherness. Page 122. Please rise. Baruch Shamar, page 122.
Baruch she'amar ve'aya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch ozer u'mkayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch meshalem sachar tov v'reya, Baruch chai la'ad, וקיים לנצח, Baruch Podeh Umatzil, Baruch Shemo. Lai ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la la ya na 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 na, ya na na ya la 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 la, ya na na ya la la ya na na na, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la ya la 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 la. Ya na 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 na, ya na na, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, chayalav arachamanu olam tiyamo. Yachid chai olami melech meshubach umfoar, radei shemo hagadol. Baruch atah Adonai Melech meulal batishpachot.
Amen. We can all be seated as we continue with the Ashrei, page 136.
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yahalelucha selah. Ashrei ha'am shekach lo Hashem Adonai Eloham, tehila leDavid amimcha. Tehilat Adonai daber pi vivarech kol basar shem kodsho leolam va'ed v'anachnu nevarech Yah me'atav yad olam. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah nafshi et Adonai, hallelujah Adonai b'chayai, azamra le'eloi be'odi, al titechu b'nivim v'ben adam she'en shuah. Adonai matir rasulim, Adonai pakir chivim rasulim. Adonai shomer et keirim, yatam yamana ye'oded derech chesha'im ye'avet, yimloch Adonai le'olam, Eloi chtzil ledor v'ador. Hallelujah.
This is another good one to clap along to, page 141. It means it's hallelujah, which means praise to God. It's for the 150th Psalm. It's a song of celebration of the gift of life. Page 141, hallelujah.
We started with a nigun, with a wordless tune. We're going to do it again and then put it to this hallelujah. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. I la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Hallelujah, hallelujah, El Bekocho, hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, hallelujah, Bigurotav, hallelujah, Kerokulo, hallelujah, Beteka Shofar, hallelujah, Benevel Vechinor, hallelujah, Betov Umachol, hallelujah, Beminim Ve'ugav, hallelujah, Betziltzele Shama, hallelujah, Betziltzele Trua, Kol Anshama Tehallel, hallelujah, Kol Anshama Tehallel, hallelujah, hallelujah. I lie, la lie, 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 la lie, 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 lie.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam, amen ve'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzvon shchei shmalam.
Shochin Yerushalayim,
Ubaruch
hallelujah.
Shem Kvodo Le'olam v'yimalech Kvodo et kol haaretz. Amen v'amen.
Nishma Kol Chai, page 145. We're in these red books which are located right in the seat pocket in front of you. Nishmat Kol Chai, page 145.
נשמת כל חי, תברך את שמך אדוני אלוהינו, ורוח כל בשר תפאר תראה מקים תמיד, מן העולם ועד העולם עד העולם. ילופינו מלא שיר הקיים, ולשוננו יקמון גליו. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ואמותינו, לברך את זה. כי כל פה לך יודע, וכל לשון לך תשבע, וכל ברך לך תכרע, וכל קומה לפניך תשתחווה, וכל לבבות יראוך, וכל קרב וכליות יזמרו לשמך, כדבר שכתוב, כל עצמותי תאמרנה אדוני מי כמוך, מציל אני מחזק ממנו, ואני באביון מגוזלו. מי ידמה לך ומי ישווה לך ומי יערוך לך, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ, נעללך ונשבחך ונפארך ונברך את שם קודשך, כאמור לדוד ברכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו.
We turn to page 147, the second paragraph, Shochen Ad.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב לנו צדיקים באדוני לישרים נבעתי אליו בפישר. ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל.
פרשם חמשים בכל דור, ודור שכין חובה כל יצרים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, להודות להלל לשמיים.
על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך.
Please rise for Yishtabach. This is the closing blessing of our warm-up section. Yishtabach, page 148.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן ביולמה ויאמרו Amen.
Please remain standing for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, towards the bottom of page 149.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech, Oseh Shalom Uvorei et HaKol. HaKol Yoducha v'Yechol Yishabchucha v'Yechol Neimu Kadosh Kodem. אין קרקך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומיתו מלך. אין קרקך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים.
El Adon, page 151.
I'm going to use a tune, an old Israeli folk song. Ya lai la lai lai, ya lai la lai, ya lai la lai lai, la lai la lai, na nai na nai nai, ya nai na nai, ya lai la lai 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 lai. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim, baruch umvorach lefi kol neshama, godlo v'tuvo malei olam, da'at u'tvuna sovevim oto. Ha'mitgoe achayot ha'kodesh, v'nedar b'chavon al ha'merkava, zichut u'mishor lifnei chiso, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מיורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם, בדעת בבינה ובשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו מפיקים נוגה, נאה זיום בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים ביים הרצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו. קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, צרפים ויופנים וחיות הקודש. יא לי לה לי לה, יא לי לה לי, יא לי לה לי לה, לה לי לה לי, יא לי לה לי לה, יא לי לה לי, יא לי לה לי לה לי. לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים. עם השביל תתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע. תתברך צורנו, מלכנו וגואלנו, בורא קדושים. page 153. השתבח שמך למלכנו יותר משעתך. כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים בימה וביראה רצון קונם, וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובטהרה, בשירה ובזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור ונורא הקדוש. להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ונימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מן השאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נעימות ייתנו, למלך הקיים זמירות יומי וקדש. המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה בראשית. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
We continue with Ahava Rabbah, the second blessing before the Shema, page 154. Page 154.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו חמלה גדולה ותרחמו. לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמוע ולעשות כל והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות, קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע סלע באמת להודות לך, וליחדך וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה אם שמעו התשבו אשריך מצוותכם ונענים אדוני מינוי. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, v'yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei bigdeihem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakana petil techelet ve'aya lachem letzitzit uritem oto utzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam ve'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet V'yatziv Nachum V'kayam V'asher V'naman Lahu לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וכיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת.
We're in the middle of page 157.
על הראשונים אל האחרונים דבר טוב וקיים לעולם ועד. עודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה הוא מעולם מגן ומושיע לבניהם החיים בכל דור ודור אשרי שישמע למצוותיך ותורתך ודברך ישים על ליבו אמונתם Tilo lel elyon baruch hu mvorach Moshe uMiriam uvnei Yisrael anu shira besimcha rabba v'yamru chulam Yalai lalai lai 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 Yalai lalai lai 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 ya lai 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 mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar bakodesh Torah tehilot osefele, osefele. Shira chadasha, shibechu geulim, leshimecha asfat hayam, yachad kulam odu veimlichu veyameru. Adonai imloch le'olam voed. Ya lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai la lai 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 ya lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 Sor Yisrael Kuma bi'ezrat Yisrael Uftechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Amen. During the week, there are 19 blessings in the Amidah, where we ask God for a whole list of certain things, ways of enhancing our lives and enhancing the world. On Shabbat, there are 7 blessings in the Amidah, which correlate to the 7 days of the week. And on Shabbat, most importantly, we recognize the blessings, of course, of our own souls and the soul of our collective community. And therefore, we recite the Amidah for the first 3 blessings together as a community, and then for the duration privately. So we'll begin the Amidah. We'll ask you to please rise for page 159, where we'll begin the Amidah together as a community and then continue silently, reflecting our needs for both communal and individual expression.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sahara Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol Hagibor ve'Anora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Akol, Vezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Goel Ibnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Ufoked U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ufoked Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechayei metim atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiva ruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed. Mechayei metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al givurot umido melach melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviecha v'kara zeh el zeh ve'yamar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Meloch ol haaretz kevodo, Az b'kol erash gadol, Adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol minaseim, Leyumat serafim, Leyumatam baruch, Yomeru, Baruch kevod Adonai mihi mekomo mimkom chamalkenu tofia v'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach matai timloch b'tzion bekarov b'yameinu leolam va'ed tishkon titkada v'titkadash Betoch Yerushalayim ircha ledor vador ulenetzach netzachim ve'einenu tirena malchutecha kadavar ha'amur b'shirei uzecha al yedei David Meshiach tzidkecha yimloch Adonai li'olam Elohayich Tzion Ledor vador, hallelujah. Ledor vador, nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish, v'shivcha chaloenu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, ki al melech gadol v'kadosh ata, baruch ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Yisbach Moshe B'Man.
When you've completed your Amidah, you can be seated. Kaddish Shalem is on page 167.
Yitkara v'yikara shemei rabah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach yirutevim lichmachoteh b'chayachonu v'yimechonu v'chayatachol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv imeru. Amen. Yeshmei rabah mevorach li'olam li'omei omaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpor v'yitruman v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalel shmei l'kudesha. Brichu li'elam mikol birchata v'shirata tushbchata v'nachamata d'Amirah v'yama v'imeru.
Amen.
Amen. Titkabel tzloton u'valton d'chol Yisrael kodam avon v'yishmaya v'imeru. Amen. Yesh lam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Ohoseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimeru. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Just move on up over here. My name is Brian Schuldenfrei, and I'm one of the rabbis here at Adat Ariel. And for those of you who are visiting with us, we're so happy to have you here. We've got a lot of great things to celebrate this morning. Of course, we have Hannah's bat mitzvah. Yeah, there we go. And that was a nice little, that was like the Rick Astley kind of, never gonna give you up. Okay. And we also have a birthday we're here to celebrate today. And we also have Shabbat and community. So it's really great for everyone to be together. And let me explain a little bit about the service. We just davened, we just prayed the Shakharit service. As Jews, we believe that we pray 3 times a day, Shakharit, Mincha, and Mariv, morning, afternoon, and evening. And on Shabbat, because we add an extra service. Don't worry, it's not too long, but we add an extra service in recognition of the special sanctity of Shabbat, and that's called Musaf, or additional service. And also because it's Shabbat, we take out the Torah and we read from the Torah. And so when Hannah is called up to the Torah and she makes her blessings in front of the Torah, there we go, Mom. When she does that, then she will be an official bat mitzvah. And that will be a very special, blessed moment. So there's 3 things we're going to do today again. Shakharit, check mark, we did that one. Torah service, we're about to do that. And then the Musaf service, we'll also share some words of blessing, some reflections on the Torah portion. And we also have a very important guest speaker here this morning from Shakharit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we have a full morning. But don't worry, once we're done, you get your bagel lunch. So that's important. Okay, so we're going to now invite Shlomo and Ariel to come up to lead and Hannah, come on up here too, as we, Mom and Dad, have the opportunity to share words of blessing with you. Okay. All right, you'll sit.
Okay, come closer to the microphone.
Hannah, our hearts cannot be fuller as we stand here and bear witness to you becoming a bat mitzvah and initiated into womanhood. However, we will not desert you. We will guide you as this is the beginning of what is to come, and I am so proud of how you've studied the Torah diligently and how you continue to study the parashah after your first bat mitzvah. I think all of you know this bat mitzvah is 2.0, and I'm going to speak to this for a moment. I know you were so greatly disappointed when a family member got COVID and we had to cancel your bat mitzvah the day prior, right after the rehearsal with the cantor Aronoff. However, after the tears were shed, you listened to the medical advice received from your uncles regarding the safety and well-being to your guests and family, and rather than trying to argue the point, you accepted the disappointment with such grace, which truly demonstrated one of your strongest traits, knowledge and good judgment, tempered by reason. This showed a maturity and resiliency as you put the well-being of others first. Hannah, you have so many traits that we love. And for those of you that don't know Hannah, a sample of who she is, she had front row seats to Taylor Swift one time. And she was at a play date with a friend. I called her and said, do you want to see Taylor Swift? Backstage passes, everything? And she says, Mom, is there another ticket for my friend? And I said, sorry, honey. And she said, you know what? I don't want to leave my friend. And that really shows me who Hannah is, her kindness. So without reading the rest of this, I'm just going to go into key points. Our family has watched you blossom into the woman you are today and become this day. I thought I could impart some words of wisdom. Well, I can still do that. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to take the road less traveled. Don't be complacent. Stand up nor receive help. Don't be afraid to push yourself to greater heights. We're almost done here. Don't be afraid to fail, as failure is often our greatest teacher and often leads us to where we should be. Don't be afraid to admit when you are wrong. Don't forget to laugh and be thankful each day. Give to those in need and show gratitude. Don't rush to get there and enjoy the process of being where you are in the present. You will get there soon enough. So our beautiful daughter, Hannah, be patient, kind, diligent in writing and editing your story of life, the person you want to be, and create the life that you are proud to live. And our hope for you is to find your true north, your perfect position in this world filled with equity, devotion, love, and meaning, and to carry Jewish traditions in your life and pass those along. We love you dearly.
I have an extra one in the back, Mom.
What beautiful words of blessing from Mom and Dad. And we'll carry those blessings forward as we continue with our Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah, which can be found beginning on page 168. Page 168. And since it is service 2.0 for Hannah, you'll notice that there will be 2 Torahs. And I'll explain all of that in just a few minutes this morning. But right now, we're going to continue with our service, page 168, Seder Kriyat HaTorah.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch, leolam va'ed. Adonai osli amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, av harachamim, heitiv avirtzonecha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki vecha levad batachnu, melech eram v'nisa, Adonai lamim. Vayehi bin Aharon, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, veyafutzu oivecha, veyanusu misanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion tetze Torah, ki mitzion tetze Torah. Udevar Adonai mi Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, li'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Please turn to the bottom of page 170. Thank you very much.
Ve'yanarachetz ve'lishme kadisha kadisha yakira ana emar tushbechan ve'yanarachetz ve'yanarachetz ve'lishme kadisha kadisha yakira ana emar tushbechan ye'erava kadamach detiftach libi b'oraita v'tashli mishalin delibi ve'liba dechol amach Yisrael letav u'lechayin ve'lishlam. Amen. Could we invite Grandma Simi to come up to the bima, bevakasha?
Hannah, in our prayers, we say L'dor Vador, from generation to generation. And this is a symbolic passing of the Torah in recognition that the Torah runs through the narrative of your family. And as the Torah has been embraced by your grandparents, and as the Torah has been embraced by your parents, so may the Torah be embraced by you. May you hold it near, may you cherish it, and may it be a blessing as you are a blessing to us. And now, with the Torah firmly in your grip, we turn to page 171. Page 171.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu,
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh, Shema. And we turn around. Gadlu Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagitula ve'agevura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'ahod ki chol bashamai haaretz ki chol bashamai uvaretz lecha Adonai hamamlacha V'amit na'aseh lechol erosh romimu, romimu. Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hishtachavu, ve'hishtachavu, lehadom raglav kadosh hu, romimu,
Romimu,
romimu.
Romimu.
Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hishtachavu, ve'hishtachavu, lehar kodsho, lehar kodsho, ki kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu.
We can all be seated. So Shabbat Shalom. Some of you may be thinking, why do we have two Torahs out? We are in the month of Cheshvan. It's not a month. In fact, it's a month known for no holidays. And so usually you only have your Torah out when you are in the middle of a holiday or the anticipation of an upcoming holiday. So why do we have two Torahs? And it's certainly not a holiday, but it's called the, as Mom said, the COVID 2.0 bat mitzvah. That's exactly what this is. It is the COVID exception. So what, you may ask, it's actually articulated in the Talmud, and I am being sarcastic, that when you are in the throes of a global pandemic and people start testing positive for COVID, and the bat mitzvah is gracious enough to recognize that it is best to postpone rather than put people in harm's way, we don't make her learn an entire new Torah and Haftarah, because that would be mean. So instead, it's all in the Talmud right there.
How do you say mean in Aramaic?
How do you say mean in Aramaic?
Lotov.
Lotov.
Latav, I don't know.
Right, exactly. Very good, Kendra. So anyway, in our quest that Hannah should embrace the Torah and not run away from the Torah, we said, it would be a little unfair to make her relearn a entire Torah reading and Haftarah and to write Devar Torah. So we're going to pretend like it is August, and we are going to imagine that we are in the middle of the book of Deuteronomy, the 5th of 5 books of the Torah, instead of being in Genesis, which we will start reading, actually. So we're going to read a little bit of both. We're going to start off in Genesis, read this week's regularly scheduled programming about the story of Abraham. Then Hannah is going to read from the book of Deuteronomy, which is Moses' farewell address and some laws. But her Devar Torah, her reflection on her study, will be in relationship, will be a reflection on Parsha Ki Teitzei, which is from the book of Deuteronomy. So if you were wondering what is going on, that is one long-winded explanation, and now I will allow Hannah to begin.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. Thank you for coming to my bat mitzvah. I'm so happy that the day has finally come. In the last couple months, I have studied many lines from my Torah portion, and I couldn't help but notice a common theme. Women were not considered to be equal to the men during this time period. This bothered me because women are equal and they should be treated fairly. There are many examples of this in the text. Women are treated like objects, where they are allowed to be stolen and are like the property of their men, first their fathers, and then their husbands. One of the rules that the Torah portion goes into is a Leverite marriage. This applies to Levite families where if a husband dies, the woman is meant to marry her dead husband's brother. This is very different, and it doesn't feel natural, at least by today's standards. I think this could be disrespectful to the deceased husband. I understand that they are trying to help. They are keeping the family name, and this woman would probably just remain a widow, and maybe no one else would want to marry her. And she would have to return to her father's house. But if you have noticed, she is always being in the control of the men in her life, and she can't be independent. So this could be her best chance to have a better life. It's the brother who has the power to break this rule. He's allowed to refuse his obligation to marry the widow, but the Torah portion gives a harsh consequence if he chooses this path. If he refuses, he has to be publicly shamed. His shoe is removed, and she even gets to spit in his face. I feel sorry for this man. He clearly doesn't want to marry her, but this law exists, so he has to break it. At least he isn't killed for refusing to marry her. Losing a shoe isn't the worst thing to happen. The very next law is also one that involves husbands and wives, but this one has a more violent ending. If two men are fighting and a wife comes to rescue her husband and grabs the guy who is attacking her husband by his private parts, she must have her hand cut off. The Torah thinks she deserves this outcome and tells us, don't feel bad for her, have no pity. It's a violation of privacy. They're called private parts for a reason, and also loyalty. She's probably trying to rip off his private parts. Firstly, it would cause a lot of pain for this man, but I think more importantly, it would take away his masculinity, so it becomes fitting that she loses a hand. Torah scholars suggest that she may be trying to stop him from having babies, which was super important back then. We see in the previous line that keeping your family name alive and passing it down the generations is really vital to society. So yeah, now we realize that her having her hand cut off may be justified. I really like that in the Torah this example exists. It was probably based on a real incident too. Otherwise, why would the Israelites need a rule about it? So yeah, a woman did get involved in two men fighting, and dared to try to win. It's problematic that ancient texts seem to forget that women are humans. Women's rights have come so far since Torah times. However, there are still so many struggles. There are still men telling women what they can and cannot do. There are men looking at women differently and saying that they are not good enough because they are female, or think that women cannot participate in the same activities as men. There is still discrimination against women today. However, we can also be grateful that women are educated and get to go to school. They can thrive on their own and don't need a man to take care of them. There are so many successful women in the world today who made it due to their talents and smarts. This Torah portion highlights the inequalities of the sexes, but can also make us feel grateful that society went in a more equal direction. I hope we can continue to address these imbalances so that future generations can do even better. Shabbat Shalom.
We want to thank Hannah for that beautiful reflection on being able to see sort of the inequalities that are presented within the Torah and her aspirations for a more inclusive and a more inclusive society. So we want to thank Hannah for such a thoughtful drash. And now we'll begin with our Torah reading, which are the Torah reading can be found beginning on page 86, the beginning of chapter 16. So again, Hannah spoke about the book of Deuteronomy, which we'll get to, but right now we are in the story of Abraham and Parshat Lech Lecha, which begins on chapter 16, verse 1.
Vayazor v'yagin Yoshia l'chol chosim bo v'nomar amen. Kol avogod Eloheinu tnu kavod laTorah ya'amod. Adar ben Emmanuel verut Rishon Baruch Shanatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato ve'atem advekim b'ronei Elohechem chayim kulchem hayom.
Baruch et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch atah Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim ve'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. V'sarai eshet Avram lo yalda lo v'la shivcha mitzrit ushma Hagar. Vatomer Sarai el Avram hinena atzarani Adonai miledet bona el shivchati ulai ibane mimena vayishma Avram lakol Sarai vatikach Sarai eshet Avram et Hagar hamitzrit shivchata miketz ester shanim leshevet Avram be'eretz Canaan vatiten ota ve'Avram isha lo leisha ve'avo el Hagar vatahar vatere ki harata ve'tekal gevirta be'eneha vatomer Sarai el Avram chamosi alecha anochi natati shivchati bechekecha ve'tere ki harata ve'ekal be'eneha yishpot Adonai beni uvenecha Vayomer Avram el Sarai הנה שפחתך בידך, עשי לה הטוב בעינייך, ותענה שרי, ותברח מפניה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, והעולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Let me call you guys up. Ta'amod na Chaya Chava bat Reuven v'Yosefa ve what? Shoshana Devorah bat Aaron Pinchas v'Chaya Chava l'Aliyah hashniya.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Vayimtza'a malach Adonai el ein hamayim bamidbar al ha'ein al ein bederech shor vayomar Hagar shiftach Sarai et mizevad mizevad v'ana telechi v'tomer mipnei shor gevir Sarai gevarti, Anochi berachat, vayomer la malach Adonai, shuvi el geratecha, vehitani tachat yadeya. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you. We don't go anywhere. In fact, we're not only not going to go everywhere, we're going to invite the rest of the crew to come on up. So Hillary, this is, what a way to celebrate. Now, I'm not going to let anyone know, a special birthday.
You can, it's okay.
Okay, so Hillary is blessed with 50 years of life. And yeah, we can woohoo,
37th portion.
And this is the 37th anniversary of her bat mitzvah.
And her second.
And your second anniversary of your bat mitzvah. And so that is a beautiful narrative that when your family elects to celebrate its simchas here at shul in front of the Torah, we acknowledge that blessing. So why don't you all get together as a family? And then Cantor, if you could join me. Here. And so with, why don't we put the tallis around your whole family over here? There we go. And hug mom tight. And so recognizing that you have been blessed with much love that's Lador Vador from your parents and now to your children. And so as you have lived a fulfilling and continue to live a fulfilling life here in front of the Torah, as we read about the first Jewish family, we hope that you will continue to be blessed with all good things. And we offer to you Birkat Kohanim.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Hillary, may God continue to bless you with love and fulfillment and children who make their beds in the morning.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
As God has shown you favor, may God continue to show you favor and bless you with love and support from community and family.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May the next chapter in your life continue to be a bright blessing that illuminates like the stars in the heavens. May you continue to bring love and joy to the world. And let us all say,
Amen.
Amen.
Yom
Let it sameach.
Yom Uledet Sameach. Yom Uledet Sameach. Yom Uledet Sameach. And a special Mazel Tov also to the second anniversary. I can't believe it's 2 years already.
2 years.
Oh, can't believe it's 37
Nothing really has gone
already.
on the past 2 years.
What?
It's very, Mazel Tov. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to step out of the way.
She started over here, so it's... Announce the page. He wants pages.
Are we on the second, third? The third Aliyah begins on verse 16:10.
Chapter 16, verse 10.
Chapter 16, verse 10. Page 87.
Ya'amdu. Chana bat Yitzchak, Ubluma, ve Ilan David, Ben Harav Eliezer, v'Sara Leah, l'Aliyah Shlishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach. Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam ha'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayomer la malach Adonai harba arbe et sarech v'lo yisafer meirov. Vayomer la malach Adonai hinach hara v'yolad ad bein v'karata shemo Yishmael ki shama Adonai el onyech. Vehu yeh pera adam yadov hakol v'yad kol bo v'al penei chol echav yishkon v'tikra shem Adonai hadiber eleha ata el roi ki amra hine halom hagam Halom raiti acharei roi, al kain kara be'er l'chai roi, hine ven kadesh u'ven bared, v'teled Hagar le'Avram bein, v'yikra Avram shem beno, asher yolda Hagar Yishmael, ואברהם בן 80 שנה ו6 שנים, ולדת הגר את ישמעאל לאברהם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. We want to thank our guest speaker this morning and wish her and her husband a Yisher Koach, Annie Spam, who's with us from Shakharit, and we look forward to hearing about her advocacy on behalf of Jewish women who are vulnerable to suffering from cancer because of their genetics, and so we'll hear more about that in just a little while. And now we'll continue with the fourth Aliyah.
The fourth,
I'm sorry,
the
go
fourth
ahead.
Aliyah is beginning of verse 17 on page 89.
Ya'amod Avraham ben David Revi'i. Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed. Shema. Amen.
Amen. Vayehi Avram ben 90 shana ו9 shanim. Vayera Adonai el Avram. Vayomer elav ani el Shaddai. Hitalech lefanai v'heye tamim. V'yetna briti b'ni u'v'necha. V'arbe otcha b'mod mod. Vayipol Avram al panav. Vayidaber ito Elohim lemor. Ani hinei v'riti itach. V'hayita la'av hamon goyim. V'lo yikare od et shimcha Avram. V'haya shimcha Avraham, ki av hamon goyim netaticha. V'hifreiti otcha b'mod mod, untaticha legoyim, u'malachim mimcha yetzeu.
Shema. Amen. Shekoah. Ya'amdu l'aliyah ha'chamishit. Chapter 17, verse 7, page 90.
We start here? Yeah, start here. He took it. Shall we start now? Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Chamvorah. Baruch. Baruch atah Adonai Chamvorah leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'hakimoti et beriti beini uvenecha uvein zaracha acharecha ledorotam livrit olam liot lecha lelohim ulezaracha acharecha v'natati lecha ulezaracha acharecha et eretz megurecha, et kol eretz Canaan la'achuzat olam, v'hayiti lahem le'elohim. Vayomer Elohim el Avraham ve'ata et beriti tishmor ata v'zaracha acharecha ledorotam zot beriti asher tishmeru beini uveinechem uvein zaracha acharecha himol lachem kol zachar Unmaltem et basar orlatchem v'hayalot brit beini uvenechem uven shmonat yamim imolachem kol zachar ledorotechem yelid bayit umiknat kesef mikol ben nechar asher lo mizarachahu himol Yilid Beitcha Umignat Kaspecha V'haita Briti Bivsharchem Livrit Olam V'arel Zachar Asher Lo Yimol Et Basar Orlato V'nichreta Hanefesh Ahi Me'ameha Et Briti Hefar Vayomer Elohim el Avraham, Sarai ishtecha, lo tikra et Shema Sarai, ki Sarah Shema, uverachti ota, v'gam natati mimena, lecha ben, uverachtiha v'haita legoyim, malchei amim, mimena iyu. Vayipol Avraham al panav, Vayitzchak, Vayomer belibo, Haleven me'ashana yivaled, V'yim Sarah, Havat tishim shana teled.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah Reading. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. Thank you very much.
Ya'amdu Binyamin Yaakov ben Chaim Yitzchak ve'Ivan bat Avram v'Simcha l'Aliyah hashishit.
The next aliyah is on page 92, verse 18.
Baruch atah Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher barachanu lekol ha'amin ve'natan lanu et haTorah, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayomer Avraham el ha'Elohim, Lu Yishmael Yichya lefanecha. Vayomer Elohim, Abol Sarai ishtecha, Yeledet lecha ben, Vekarata et Shemo Yitzchak, Vakimoti et briti ito, Livrit olam, Lezaro acharav. ולيשמעאל שמעתיך, הנה ברכתי אותו, והפריתי אותו, והרביתי אותו במאוד מאוד. 12 נשיאים יוליד, ונתתי לגוי גדול. זאת ואת בריתי הקים את יצחק, אשר תלד לך שרה למועד הזה בשנה האחרת. ויכל לדבר איתו, ויעל אלוהים מעל אברהם. ויקח אברהם את ישמעאל בנו, ואת כל ילידי ביתו, ואת כל מתנת כספו, כל זכר באנשי בית אברהם. וימל את בשר עורלתם בעצם היום הזה, כאשר דיבר אותו אלוהים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו לתורה את עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. שבת שלום.
יעמדו שלמה בן משה ואריאל בת אברהם ושמחה לעלייה השביעית.
The hardest part is my glasses get fogged up.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו.
ברוך אתה אדוני
מכל העמים נתן תורה. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ואברהם בן 99 שנה בהימולו בשר עורלתו, וישמעאל בנו בן 13 שנה בהימולו את בשר עורלתו. בעצם היום הזה נימול אברהם וישמעאל בנו וכל אנשי ביתו יליד בית ומקנת כסף מאת בן נכר נימולו איתו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת
וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen.
As the second Torah is put on the shulchan, on the table, we'll ask everyone to please rise for Reader's Kaddish.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
יעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ליומי עולמיה, יתברך יתברך וישבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יעמדו המגביה והגוללת לספר ראשון.
Please remain standing for the lifting and wrapping of the first Sefer Torah. We may want to move out of the way. There we go.
Come over here. Okay.
Have you done this before? Pick up the Torah. Yeah. So you want to spread them a little bit first, and then lever it over. Yeah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. Moshe Yisrael Kudsha Berichu Ve'yoraita Chadu Yisrael Kudsha Berichu Ve'oraita Chadu Torah, Torah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Torah, Torah, Hallelujah. Torah, Torah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Torah, Torah, Hallelujah.
We can all be seated as we turn in our Chumashim to page 1129. In between Abraham having his circumcision, he has a family, they have a family, there's lots of families. They go down to Egypt, they escape Egypt, they come back up, they're ready to go in their promised land, and there are laws, and that's where we are right now. Page 1129, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 10. It is now my pleasure to call Hannah Barash to the Torah in celebration of her bat mitzvah.
Tamad, Tamad, Tamad. Habachura, Chana, Bat Shlomo ve'Ariel, Bat HaMitzvah, Maftir.
So the first thing is to find the place.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Okay, one second.
Oh, found it.
What is it? This one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so take your tali. Pick this up. Pick up your book. So touch. Yes. Okay, she wants to see. Hold it to the handles.
Yeah.
Okay, and now go.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Take the yod.
כי תושב ירחה משע את מאומה, לא תבוא אל ביתו, לעבור אבותו. בחוץ תעמוד בהאיש, אשר אתה נושבו יוציא אליך, את אבות החוצה. ואם איש עני הוא לא תשכב באבותו, השב תשיב לו את אבו כבוא השמש, בשלך בשמתו, וברכך ולך תהיה צדקה לפני אדוני אלוהיך.
Take your tali, put your tali and your sweater over your shoulders. Take that tali until you're finished reading. Give a kiss. Okay, hold on to both handles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ya'amdu hamagbiya v'agolel lesefer sheni.
Please rise for the lifting and wrapping of the second Sefer Torah.
Parents. Okay, you go up to that side. You go up over here. Shake hands. Ta Torah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Yalai la 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 yalai la 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 la. I like yalai la 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 yalai la 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 yalai la 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 la
We can all be seated. There's good reason for us to celebrate beautiful bat mitzvah, the gathering of family, young faces looking up to the bima. Hi there. She's so cute, isn't she? Hello there. Hi. Shabbat shalom. Okay. Yeah, it's bat mitzvah. That's right. Shabbat, that's right. And you know what? On Shabbat, you know what we do? We not only make prayers of celebration, we also make prayers for people who aren't feeling so good. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to offer a prayer of refuah, a prayer of healing for all of the men and women in our communities and around the world who are experiencing suffering. So if you know of someone who is in need of prayers of healing, what we'd like to ask you to do is to please rise in your place. And when we pause in the prayer and I look in your direction, please share the name of the people that you're praying on behalf so we can all think of them as well.
Mishberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim Elna Refana Elna Refana la Elna Refana Elna Refana lo Lida Bat Bracha.
And on this Shabbat, we think of all the men and women who've been injured in service to this great country, the United States of America, as well as to all of the men and women who've been injured in service to our homeland, the great state of Israel. May all those people throughout the world experiencing illness and brokenness, may they all experience a refuah shlema, a complete healing of both body and soul. And let us all say, Amen.
Mishberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim.
At this point in the service, we're going to read what will sound like a very familiar haftarah, because by circumstance, the haftarah that Hannah prepared for her bat mitzvah all the way in August is the same haftarah that we just read last week. So, for an introduction to last week's haftarah, or this week's haftarah because of COVID, I refer you to my speech from last week on that aforementioned haftarah. Right now, we will continue on page 1138. Page 1138, and Hannah will begin us off, of course, with the blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nevi'im tovim, v'ratzah b'divreihem, hana'emarim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ocher b'torah, u'v'moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'mvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Roni akara lo yalada pitchi rina v'tahali lo chala ki rabim b'nei shomema mimnei ve'ula amar Adonai archivi mekom aholech v'riot mishkenotayich yatu al tachsochi ha'arichi metarayich v'tidotayich hazeki ki yaminu smol Tifrotzi v'zarech goyim mirash ve'arim neshamod yoshivu al tiri kilo tevoshi v'al tikalmi kilo tachpirit kivoshet alumayich tishkachi v'cherpat amenutayich lo tizkiri od kivo alayich osayich Adonai tzevaod Shemo v'goalech kedosh Yisrael Elohei chol haaretz yikarei ki cha'isha azuva v'atzuva ruach kera'ach Adonai ve'eshet ne'irim ki tima'es amar Elohayich Berega katon azavtich v'rachamim godolim al kabzech B'shatzef kezef histarti v'nai rega mimef Uv'chesed olam riachamtich amar go'alech Adonai Ki mei noach zot li asher nishbati me'avor menoach od al ha'aretz ken nishbati miksof alayich u'megorbach Ki harim yamushu v'chag va'od temu tenach v'chasti ma'itech lo yamush uvri shlomi lo tamut amar merachamech Adonai Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol halomim Sadiq b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'yoseh, ha'mdaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav, emet v'tzedek, ne'eman atahu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'devar echad midvarecha, v'hor lo yashuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman atah, Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Ha'el ha'ne'eman B'chol devarav
Amen.
Rachem al Tzion Ki hi beit chayenu V'la'alu vad nefesh Toshia b'mheira Ve'yamenu Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo
Mesameach Zion Bevaneha
Amen.
Samchenu Adonai Eloheinu Beliyahu Hanavi Avdecha Uv'malchut Beit David Meshichecha B'mhera Yavod V'yagel Libenu Al Kis'o Lo Yashev Zar Ve'lo Yinchalu Od Acharim Et Kevodo Kiv Shem Kojacha Nishbata Lo, Shelo Yichbei Ro, Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Shemo.
Magen David,
Amen.
Al HaTorah, Ve'al HaVodah, Ve'al HaNevi'im, Ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shenatata Lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha V'limnocha, Lechavod U'Tif'aret, Al HaKol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu Modim Lach, Umvarchim Otach, Yitbarach Shimcha, Befi Cholcha Tamid, Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai,
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Wow.
There was a little yay. I heard that. That was so cute. Yay. Absolutely yay, right? So, Hannah, I want to wish you a mazal tov, and I have to start off with an apology. Your mom called me out on it right away. As she walked into the service, she said, "Rabbi, I thought you were going to dye your hair blue for the service." And I may or may not have mentioned that in our meeting together. So I do apologize, but the blue is not looking so good with the ever more present gray that's coming out. But Hannah, I want to say that, oh, you've got like purple streaks going on. That's good. I like it. Yeah. I want to just say that while I may have overpromised in our meeting, what I did do was listen. And I loved hearing about you and about the life that you lived so far. And I actually do hope that we get a chance to spend more time together. I teach the high school class here and the 8th grade and all of that. And I kind of hope that maybe you'll join us and certainly join us in USY as well. In that meeting, I enjoyed hearing, Hannah had a big challenge this summer. So she signed up for Camp Newman, which is this great, yeah, that's right. So, which is this wonderful Jewish summer camp located up north. But what Hannah didn't realize when she signed up is she went thinking that she would be in the same unit as a close friend of hers. Is that you? But you guys ended up not being in that same unit. And Hannah was left at sleepaway camp, hundreds of miles away from her family and anyone that she knew, and she felt all alone. And at that moment, Hannah had a decision to make. She could either decide to survive or she could vow to thrive. And Hannah decided to thrive. And seeing you, Hannah, and the way that you embrace life with these incredible highlights through your hair and that gorgeous smile that's underneath that mask, I'm not surprised at that decision, because you are someone who embraces life and has decided to thrive. The way you are with people, whether it's your closest friends and family who are often gifted a specialty friendship bracelet, or strangers on the street with whom you share common courtesies and a generous smile. You're a people person, Hannah, and that is readily apparent. And that's why I'm not surprised to learn that you can't wait to spend more time in New York City. I asked where you would be in 30 years, and you said you were going to be a high-powered attorney living in Manhattan. And I cannot wait till that happens. And when I asked you why Manhattan specifically, you said it was because of the energy of all of the people. Hannah, this embrace of people, the way that you meet people and that you love them and you cherish and celebrate them, for that reason, I am glad that you changed the date of your bat mitzvah. Let's just forget about the whole COVID thing. The original date of your bat mitzvah would have been Parsha Ki Tetzeh, which you talked about. And it speaks a lot of the laws. And laws are given to make people behave acceptably to one another. Don't hate this one, treat the poor person decently, don't disenfranchise someone. In other words, laws are given as a reaction to people who don't do well with others. That's not you, Hannah. Today's Torah portion celebrates Abraham and Sarah and their story. And according to our tradition, they were selected as the first Jews because of how well they did with other people. It's not to say that they weren't different. I could kind of imagine Sarah dyeing her hair purple as well. They were very different, and they were individuals, but they embraced the entirety of humanity with love and acceptance. And that's just like you, Hannah. Abraham and Sarah had this love of humanity. They didn't need the laws of Deuteronomy, the first Torah portion that you had your bat mitzvah scheduled for, to keep them from doing bad to others, because they were naturally inclined to love other people. And Hannah, that's your greatest blessing, your inclination to love other people, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, all of your cousins, including the cute little cousin in row 3. You love people, and because of that, Hannah, you are a blessing. And so today, on your bat mitzvah, as you are a blessing to us and indeed a blessing to humanity, me, meaning myself and the cantor, would now like to offer you a blessing. So please come up to the bima. You can face me, sweet. Turn towards me.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God continue to guard over you and to bless you with great love in your heart and in your spirit.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
May God show you great favor by allowing the divine illuminance, that means the light of God, to shine upon your dyed hair.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may the path that you follow, the path of your life, be directed by the love in your heart. And let us all say,
Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov.
Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov,
siman tov,
siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov.
Yehelanu, 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 ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael.
Mazel tov. We also recognize, as Hannah is embraced by family and friends and candies, which cause cavities, that we have a lot of things that we are grateful for, including the blessing of our country and the blessing of our homeland, the great state of Israel. So now we'd like to ask everyone to please turn to page 177, page 177, as we continue towards the bottom of the page for a prayer for our country.
Want to do Shechianu?
Page 177 towards the bottom of the page. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, for all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us all say, Amen. And let's read together in the English on page 178, a prayer for the state of Israel. Please together in the English. Avinu Shabashamayim, stronghold and redeemer of the people Israel, bless the state of Israel, that it may be the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us all say, Amen. And now we would like to turn to page 181. Page 181, Ashrei.
Ashrei Oshrei Veitecha, Od Yalelu Chasela. Ashreim Shekach Lo, Ashreim Shadonai Eloha, Tehillah LeDavid.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech hapam yidol chased, tov Adonai l'chol rachum.
Malchut kol olamim amishana. פותח את ידיך, משפיע לכל חי רצון צדיק, אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסי בכל מעשיו קרוב, אדוני בכל קרב בכל. תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, יברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד, ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah.
Please rise as the ark is opened and the Sifrei Torah are returned to the ark. Page 183.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael, am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kavod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim, el hakavod yirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vayeshaber Adonai et arzei halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon v'Sirion, kemo ben re'emim. Kol Adonai chotze bavodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol elayalot, Vayechesof yeharot, Uvechalo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lama buli yashak, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz li'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, uvnucha yomar, shuv Adonai for the face of God. Etz chayim hi, lama chazikim ba, v'tomcheha meushar, teracheha, darchei noam, v'chol netivotea, shalom, hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated. As we are in the midst of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we decided to invite a special guest speaker, Annie Sparr, who is not only someone who, well, rumor has it, is the sisterhood president of Temple Beth Am, and is also someone who has advocated for peace in the Middle East and has extensive volunteer experience in those causes, but someone who is a member and an advocate for Shakharit. And for those of you who are not familiar with Shakharit's work, Shakharit is an organization specifically designed to help Jewish women and those who are pre-inclined to, because of genetics, for breast cancer as well as ovarian cancer. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce this morning's Darshanit, Annie Sparr. Mike's been a little fussy this morning. If it starts going, if you start hearing me so go low, you just give it a little twist to the right. I'll help you, don't worry about it.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. So first of all, Mazel Tov Hannah on your bat mitzvah. I'm calling on you and for your family. It's a delight to see, and I didn't know that you were going to be someone who feeds perfectly into the remarks I'm going to make today, because you too went out of your comfort zone. And so thank you for that, because you're just another example. So, now my remarks. Thank you, Rabbi Schuldenfeld, for inviting me to speak today during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I appreciate how Adat Ariel makes breast cancer awareness and education a priority for your congregation. In this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, God tells Avram, "Go forth from your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house," which indicates Avram was being told to go outside of his comfort zone. Whenever someone goes outside of their comfort zone, they are at risk for loss because they don't have their family, community, and their support system with them. It was due to this concern that God reassures Avram that even though he would be going out of his safe space, God would be there with him to provide support, and it would all work out for the best. In a similar way, when a person faces illness, they enter into a space outside of their comfort zone. Short of having God speak to that person, offering direct support, that person needs a new support network before, during, and after their illness. So I've known about Shakharit for a very long time. Full disclosure, my sister-in-law was the clinical director of Shakharit for over a decade. I knew it was a wonderful organization, but I didn't truly understand what they did. In the summer of 2014, my family moved to Los Angeles from New York. It was a big move, but we had moved before and we were up for the challenge. 7 months after we arrived, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. 7 months in a new city is not a long time to create the support network one needs in the face of a cancer diagnosis. Like Avram, I was way outside of my comfort zone. When I was waiting for the results of my biopsy, my husband Ilan told me I should call his sister. Why, I asked. What can she do? He gently reminded me that she might have some tips to help me, as I hadn't really slept since I knew I was having a biopsy. And so I called her. Indeed, Shira, my sister-in-law, and Shakharit had so much to offer, not just me, but my family. They helped in ways that I didn't know I needed. We needed. They gave my husband a support package that helped him understand what I was going through and how he could best help me. They gave me language to explain to my teenage children what was happening. They connected me with women who had a similar diagnosis so I could talk with them about what the surgery I was facing and its recovery would be like. Doctors can tell you a lot, but unless they have experienced the surgery, their understanding of the recovery can be, let's just say, spotty. Now I am a peer supporter, and I am able to help women like me who need someone who has walked the road before them to listen, answer questions, and be a part of their community. I think it's fair to say that right now with the pandemic, all of us were forced outside of our collective comfort zone, needing new ways of finding support and community from a distance, like being together separately for Shabbat services via Zoom or Facebook Live. And I would suggest that as we move to a new normal, which continues to evolve, we need to find ways to heal. With cancer, physical healing begins by following the recommendation of one's medical team. In addition to treatments and surgery, it will likely require a lot of rest. It also includes time to grow comfortable with what many call the new normal. Emotional healing is different for everyone, as people impacted by cancer often feel a wide range of emotions. Some facing cancer find themselves in a spiritual crisis. Religious belief can be a source of comfort during their trying experiences, and those who are struggling may wish to speak with a rabbi or other clergy member. It's important to recognize that when a member of the community is diagnosed with cancer, the entire community is impacted. This is particularly true if the person diagnosed is an active, well-known member of your congregation. Illness stirs difficult emotions in all of us, whether fear, sadness, or feelings of loss. These are scary times for everyone, even scarier for someone who may be immunocompromised. People currently facing cancer or any diagnosis, even COVID-19, are more isolated now than ever, so our community needs to provide them with even more support. No matter the cause of the pain, communal healing is a critical way we support the mental health of our members and protect the overall well-being of our communities. While time is a big factor in healing, there are many proactive things that can be done to support the effort. For members facing illness, organized community support, including checking in with a phone call, offering to shop, or a door drop of a meal, are great places to start, as it provides the community with an opportunity to support those in need. Collective prayers through Tehillim or a healing service is also a strong resource. In addition to feeling sad or concerned, community members may be worried about themselves, including awareness and education programming like this in honor of those facing illness can be extraordinarily helpful. I hope you will see this moment as a reminder to all of us to be proactive about our health. The pandemic is not an excuse to postpone healthy living. Cancer screenings were down as much as 90% in some parts of the country, and the National Cancer Institute believes COVID-19 will negatively impact cancer deaths for the next decade between delayed diagnosis and altered treatment plans. But screening facilities are taking extra steps to ensure it is safe to be screened, so please don't use the pandemic as an excuse to skip your appointments. And proactive care begins with education. It can start by knowing your family history of cancer and other illnesses. Keep a chart of who had which diseases and at what ages they were diagnosed. This is important because a percentage of cancers are hereditary or genetic. For example, you may be familiar with the BRCA gene. A mutation in the BRCA gene increases the risk of developing cancer by up to 88%. It's also linked to ovarian, prostate, colon, and other related cancers. This mutation affects 1 in 500 people in the general population, but in the Ashkenazi Jewish population, 1 in 40 of us are carriers, both men and women, making our community far more susceptible to hereditary cancer. And the BRCA gene is present in men and women. This is not just a female issue. So learn about your maternal and paternal histories and discuss it with your doctor or a genetic counselor to assess your risk. When speaking with your healthcare professional, know what questions to ask. For example, what age should I start having mammograms, or what other screening tests are available to me? Or, cancer runs in my family. How does this impact my male relatives' cancer risk? And what screening should they be considering? Or, if I am found to be a carrier of a mutation, what are my options? It's also important to remember that regardless of your family history, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime, and 1 in 1,000 men. This means that all of us should pay attention to our bodies and commit to a screening plan that's right for you. At Shakharit, we provide free, confidential, and personalized support for women and families facing breast or ovarian cancer or who are at elevated genetic risk. We speak to women and families facing cancer at every stage, before, during, and after diagnosis. We help them connect to our community in the way that feels most comfortable, taking into consideration their stage of life, diagnosis, or treatment, as well as their connection to Judaism. We have a peer support network which connects women one-on-one with others who share similar diagnosis and experience. A survivorship kit to provide individualized support, education, and survivorship navigation, and a family-focused program which provides resources to caregivers and family members. We have a clinical team, including a genetic counselor, who are available virtually to answer questions and address concerns of those who reach out for support. Shakharit distributes educational materials, offers specialized support to those facing ovarian cancer or are at high risk for developing cancer, and creates resources for women and families to improve their quality of life. Shakharit is also educating the next generation about genetics and the significant impact of hereditary breast cancer on Jewish families so that cancers can be caught early when they are more effectively treated. And Shakharit doesn't charge for any of these services. All of it is free. Avram left his land, left his relatives, and forged a new life. God was with him, but he also created a new support system for himself. When a woman is diagnosed with cancer, like Avram, she needs to adjust to her new reality. Shakharit is one component of the toolkit she must put together, along with her medical team, her friends, her family, and her community. It's not a question of if someone you know will get a diagnosis of cancer. It's a question of who or when. But it's very comforting to know that Shakharit exists to be there for you and your community when you are in need. Shabbat Shalom.
We want to say Toda Rabah and Yisher Koach to Annie Sparr for sharing such insightful and helpful words. I think we all know people in our families, our close friends who are affected by cancer, if not ourselves, and to know of all the vast toolkits that are available and the resources that are available to help us combat this awful disease, it's certainly very helpful, and what a beautiful way to tie it into the Torah portion as well. So, Yisher Koach and Toda Rabah. And please, I think the best thing that you can do is when someone said, "How is synagogue today?" you can share that Hannah did a wonderful job, and you should add that you learned about Shakharit, because you never know, by telling someone, you actually could help save a life. Okay, we're going to continue. Page 184, the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yamad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechonu v'yamechonu chaydacho beit Yisrael b'galav v'zman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach li'olam li'omei omaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpor v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Vitadar, vitalev, vitalel, shmei dekudesha, brichu li'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, tamiran b'yalemav imeru. Amen.
Please rise for the Musaf Amidah, beginning on page 185.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Akol Vezocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Goel Ibnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Ve'ahava Melech Ozer Ufoked Umoshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ufoked Sarah Ata gibor leolam Adonai Mechayei metim ata Rav lehoshia Mashiva ruach umorida gashem Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechayei metim berachamim rabim Somech noflim verofeh cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umidam melach melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanata lachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim Na'aritzecha v'naqdishcha Kesod ziach sarfei kodesh Hamaqdishim Shimcha ba'kodesh Kakatuv al yad neviecha V'kara zeh el zeh Ve'yamar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai tzvaot melocho la'aretz kevodo Kvodo malei olam Mishartav shoalim zeh lazeh Aye mekom kevodo Le'umatam baruch yomeru Baruch kevod Adonai mimekomo Mimkomo hu yifen berachamim V'yachonam hamiachadim shemo erev v'avoker b'chol yom tamid pamayim pamayim be'ahava shema omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Virachamav Shenit, Le'ene Kol Chai. Liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, uvdivrei kodshecha katuv lemor, yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohayich Tzion, ledor vador, hallelujah, ledor vador, ledor vador, Ledor vador nagid God lecha, Ledor vador, Ledor vador, Ledor vador nagid God lecha, Ulenetzach netzachim, Ulenetzach netzachim, Kedushatcha, Kedushatcha nakdish, Ulenetzach netzachim, Ulenetzach netzachim, Kedushatcha, Kedushatcha nakdish. Ledor vador, Ledor vador, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש, אתה ברוך, אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. תקרא את השבת הזה.
When you've completed your Amidah, you can be seated.
יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה.
אמן.
ביאמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימכון ובחי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו. אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ליומי יומיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפור ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירם בימה וימרו. אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובלתון דכל ישראל קודם אבוהן וישמעיה ויאמרו. אמן. יש שלום רב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו. אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו. Amen.
Ein Kelohenu, page 204.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yosed Haaretz, Umoshav Yikaro b'Shamayim Mima'al, Ushchinatu zo, Begovhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatu b'Torato, V'yadata Yom v'Hashevota elevavecha, Ki Adonai Elohim b'Shamayim mima'al, V'yala aretz mitachat ein od Elkeinu kavel lecha Adonai. Kakatu b'Toratecha Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayomahu yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
In love, we recall those who no longer walk this earth. We are grateful to God for the gift of their lives and for the cherished memories that never fade. This week, we as a congregational community mourn the passing of Sonia Newman, the mother of Anthony Newman, and we wish the entire Newman family condolences at this time. Hamakom Yenachem. We'd like to now invite those of you who are observing your yurtzeit, who are still in mourning, to please join us as we sanctify God's name with the words of Mourner's Kaddish on page 204. Page 204, Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayachon u'v'yameachon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam almei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnatzeh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. O say shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. And may the memories of our loved ones be a source of comfort and blessing, and let us all say amen. It's now my great pleasure to call upon Adam Spiegel, our Executive Vice President, for some announcements and greetings.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning at Adat Ariel, both near and far. I'd like to thank everyone who participated in our services this morning. Our Darshanit was Annie Sparr. Our Torah readers were Hannah Barash, Saul Zera, and Hillary Oberstein. Our Haftarah was Hannah Barash. Our Aliyah coordinator today was Jim Lesserman. Our Gabayim were Mark Bressler and Samara Lewinson. Our greeters today were Hillary Oberstein and Dana Alden. Our host today was Eliana Lewinson. And it says there was no bat mitzvah anniversary or bar mitzvah anniversary, but we know that Hillary and Dana were celebrating their anniversary today, so Mazal Tov. Just a couple of announcements. Our morning minyan, Friends Minyaneers and Adult Studies students, please join us at morning minyan in the Deber Chapel, 9 a.m. on Sunday, October 31st, when we honor Rabbi Jonathan Jaffe Bernhard and present him with some gifts in acknowledgement of his leading teaching and inspiration. And of course, breakfast will be served, which should be an incentive for everyone. November 7th is Mitzvah Day. Please join us from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. as we help several LA organizations for this family-friendly event. There will also be a Los Angeles fire truck for kids to enjoy, and more information will be following soon. Remember, we have our new start of a brand new program called Kulanu. This is a Shabbat experience for elementary school-aged children. It meets the first Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. until the end of services. And if you're interested in signing up for next month, please contact Andrea Jaffe. I encourage you to go to our .ral website for other events that are coming up. We have a fall reading club with Lisa Silverman. The Women of Adat have a program next week. The Men at Adat are meeting Sunday mornings for workout groups. You should contact Eric Nicastro if you want to work out with Matt Skelza. And we have a mindful healing class this Monday, starting this Monday, October 18th at 7:30. Shabbat Shalom.
I want to thank Adam for that announcement, those announcements and those greetings. We're appreciative of all of you for being here. Just two more things on. We're still praying for the Dodgers, and so I know the Cantors. This shows the efficacy of her prayers because she's a big Dodger fan. It means that her prayers, her singing is a lot better than my talking because my Mets have long been, eliminated, and her Dodgers are still playing. So you're better off sitting on that side of the bima. But we are, if the Dodgers make it, we're hoping that they do. But on October 29th, we're having World Series Shabbat. So on October 29th, there will be a World Series game. It's on Erev Shabbat, so Friday night. And so we're going to have Shabbat services in between the innings. So Allah, take me out to the ball game, and there'll be hot dogs and Cracker Jacks and all sorts of fun, along with hopefully our Dodgers. We're not sure if they'll be joining us or not, but we're rooting for them. That's October 29th. And then on October 31st, I unfortunately won't be at the breakfast honoring Rabbi Bernhardt because I will be in Simi Valley at Camp Alonim. There's the Tour de Camps, I think. I'm not sure what they call it. But anyway, it's the Jewish summer camp bike race. And so I'm going to schlep on a bike. And since I'm going to do that, I'm going to ask you to make a little donation to the camps in hope that I make it, and do okay in that, just to the finish line. No aspirations or finishing with accolades or anything like that. I just want to cross the finish line. Anyway, so that's October 31st. And so we've sent out some information, or if you'd like to join me on the bike ride, you'll be well in front of me. I'll pick up the rear. But anyway, that is October 31st, and all money. You can see the beauty of Jewish summer camps through Hannah. All money goes to assist children going to all the fine Jewish summer camps in the greater Los Angeles area. So it's really a worthwhile cause. Okay, with that in mind, we are going to sing Adon Olam on page 211. Page 211, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Li'eit Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai melech shemo nikra, v'yacharei kichlot hakol, levado yimloch nora, ve'hu haya, ve'hu hove, ve'hu yeh b'tifara, ve'hu echad v'yein sheni, להמשילו להכפירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו הפקיד רוחי, בעת אישן ויעירה, ויהי ברוכי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא.
Hey, Hannah, why don't you come join us?
This is for you. Come over here. Grab onto this cup. He's going to start.
I'll start it. Al Kim Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'yikad Shehu Savri.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen.
Amen.
And the blessing over the hand washing.
You want to finish it or should I?
You can can take it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, hang out here for a second.
All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu al netivat yadayim.
Amen. Pick up the bread. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'teh. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, shakoach. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mazal tov.
Thank you.
Biratzon. Mazal tov. Ariel.
Beautiful service area.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Ariel. Hey, Ima. Thank you. Because I.
That's how she does.
Shabbat shalom.
This is what I'm talking about. It's out there every week, and that's all it has. Nothing under that. So, at a minimum, they could put yard signs on the back.
This is like a waste of paper as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, it probably is. But if they put yard sign, then I wouldn't feel it was such a waste. But
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know because I had no idea it was there.
yeah, it's been there for about